Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in May 9th, 2025 at 10 o'clock p.m. on this lovely, lovely night on 92.5 WLSD The Vault, 1220 a.m. or WLSDradio.com. And you're joining to watch or listen to a movie show called Real Talk. And tonight we're going to be discussing the recent movie called Companion. But before we get into that, please go to all the social media pages. That's the Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, the other people's show. And tonight's movie is a movie that it came out back in January. And I happened to see it. I'd heard of it, but I happened to see it when I went on a cruise this past March in a very nice IMAX theater in the middle of the middle of the sea. And this is about a weekend getaway with friends at a remote cabin turns into chaos after it's revealed that one of the guests is not what they seem. And I had watched the movie trailer to this beforehand, and what I gathered from the very first trailer was nothing like this movie ended up being. Nothing at all. And in a very good way. It had a little bit of a twist about, I would say, from the second act on. And it kind of just drew you in. Hello, Nicole. And if you want to join, you can go to all the Facebook, the Spotify, and everything, just like I said. But we're going to dive right in. Now, this was by director Drew Hancock. And I honestly had never really heard of his name. But I was going through his IMDb, his Internet Movie Database, and it had all of his, contributions to film. And the most notable thing on there that I've seen is that he was involved in a lot of Tenacious D's music videos and things like that. So Drew Hancock didn't really have a lot of experience doing feature films, and that's kind of what what is odd about this film is that this is not something that you would expect coming from someone that has directed and created Tenacious D songs and videos. And if you don't know Tenacious D, that is Jack Black and Kyle Gass's. It's kind of like their side project where they do these really rock and roll, hard rock, comedic songs. And that's kind of, it spawned, I think, from the mid-90s, and it's continued up until this past summer. And this has a cast of what I would say up-and-comers for the most part. You have Dennis Quaid, his son, Jack Quaid. You have Patrick, played by Lucas Gage. You have Iris, played by Sophie Thacker. And you have Sergey, played by Rupert Friend. And he's a character actor that you have probably seen time and time again in things, but you just don't know his face. Or, excuse me, I misspoke. You just don't know his name. You would know his face. Because he's one of these character actors. Maybe he loses weight for a role. Maybe he has facial hair. Maybe his hair is blonde. Maybe it's black. Maybe he's gained weight. He's one of those kind of characters. Maybe he has a different accent. But he is very recognizable. Because you'll be like, I've seen that guy. I've seen him in things. Jack Quaid is kind of making a name for himself. I think he was also in the movie called Heart Eyes that came out on, I might be wrong about that, the Heart Eyes thing now that I think about it. I think I am. That's Mason Gooding. Excuse me. But Jack Quaid is, if you see Jack Quaid, he looks basically just like a young Dennis Quaid. And Dennis Quaid is still making movies to this day. But, this is a very a good actor. I was very surprised that I had never really seen him in anything. But when going through a lot of his filmography, he's in the Hunger Games, Logan Lucky, Rampage, Scream, Oppenheimer, Companion, and he was also in like this random action movie that came out. When did this come out? March 14th, called Novocaine. So he's supposed to be the excuse me, the next big thing, and he is a commanding lead. But that brings me to Sophie Thacker. Now, Sophie Thacker is, I never had actually ever heard of Sophie Thacker. And I was going through a little bit of her filmography, and she's not done a lot of movies per se. More so, she's done a lot of television. And I was going to try to pull some up here really quick to let you all in on this. But she pretty much commands the screen as well. She has been in just a few films. The Boogeyman, Maxine, Heretic, Companion. I didn't know she was in Heretic, which was actually a good movie. And she was in a few things on television. Chicago PD, 2 episodes of The Exorcist, 4 episodes of Chicago Med, and 3 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. So she is a newcomer as well. And it looks like she has maybe an album out, a music album. She has two or three singles out. So she's one to be on the lookout for the future, but she does a great job in the role of Iris in the movie. Now, some facts about this movie. We have Sophie Thacker can cry from just one eye at a time on command, which is a very random feat, just being able to cry from one eye. Now, I was thinking about this earlier in the week, being an actor myself, is that the way that I do cry, if I need to cry for a role, and I've had to cry a couple of times, I'll think of one of two things. I will think of, well, the first thing I think of I won't mention live on air here, but the second thing that I do is that I stay off of my medication for a couple of days, and then I'm able to cry over anything. If I do that, then I'm able to cry on command and not command. So that's my secret here. I don't know Sophie Thacker's secret, but she can cry from one eye at a time on command. The name Iris, which is the character that Sophie plays, is the name Siri backwards. And that seems so much like a simple thing, but I never had even really thought about that before. And that does come into play a little bit when you think about the context of the movie and what you find out what Sophie is. So it's kind of a play on words there. Now, the opening scene of the film where Sophie is pushing a grocery cart, or Iris is pushing the shopping cart, it echoes the last scene in the movie, The Stepford Wives. And if you know anything about The Stepford Wives, it is about, I think it's about aliens that take over people's body. I've seen the remake of it. Yeah, it changes like the town goes from wives that are free-thinking, intelligent women into complacent wives dictated solely to homemaking. So that's the Stepford Wives. So that's kind of like the opening scene where this little meet cute happens between Iris and Josh within the film is kind of a throwback to the Stepford Wives. And I've seen the, I think it was a Nicole Kidman, Matthew Broderick movie of the same name, a remake in 2005, and it just wasn't very good. The remake, that is. Haven't seen the original. Now, Josh is listening to the song Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls in the movie, in which the soundtrack is to The City of Angels, which co-starred his real-life mother, Meg Ryan. Now, if you know anything about some actors and actresses' drama and backstory history, Dennis Quaid was with Meg Ryan for such a long time. Meg Ryan was in a movie called Proof of Life with Russell Crowe, had an affair, broke up the marriage to Dennis Quaid, but one of the results of that marriage was actor and son Josh Quaid. And the movie, which Meg Ryan was in, City of Angels, I'm always going to connect it back to Nicolas Cage, starring Nicolas Cage. That song by the Goo Goo Dolls is played, Iris is played in the movie, which happens to be Sophie Thacker's name. Did you see how that all connected? It was like a lot of interconnectedness there. But that song is played, and I'm sure that everyone knows that song at this point. It was, for the longest time, I think it was 52 weeks straight, the longest running number one song in Billboard history for the longest time. But it may have been surpassed. I'm not sure. The budget of this film was I don't want to say meager, because to us, $10 million seems like a lot of money, and it is. But for a Hollywood movie, it's not really all that much money, I guess. And it made 20.8, and worldwide $36.7 million, which means this movie was a financial success. Typically, studios get back half of the money, so half of 36.7 is what, 18.35. So it made a nice little profit, not counting, DVD sales, Blu-ray sales, streaming, and, they always sell to networks as well. So it's a nice little financial success for the movie. Rotten Tomatoes has this movie at a 93%. Hey, Matthew. And the audience score is at 89%. IMDb has it at a 6.9%. And, I was really surprised in a way that the IMDb wasn't a little bit higher than the Rotten Tomatoes or the audience score. Because I would give this a solid, I would give it a solid 7 is what I would give it. Because this movie is a movie that, going in knowing very little, and I'm not, I've debated whether or not I want to give any kind of spoiler alert, because I'm going to say spoiler alert. So if you don't want to hear the spoiler alert, tune back in just a few minutes. But I don't, because if you're going in knowing nothing, I think it benefits you as the audience member, because you're not expecting a certain type of movie. In the original trailer that I watched, like I said earlier in the show, it didn't really give anything away. Now, I rewatched another trailer after I'd seen the movie, and I think it gave way too much away. So the least you know about this film, the better going into it. Now, the plot and the story, it starts off with this, kind of like we said, the scene from the Stepford Wives, and it kind of cuts to this weekend getaway with this girlfriend and this boyfriend. They're going into like this cabinous, beautiful woods, beautiful cabin in the woods, just like miles and miles from anything. The scenery is beautiful, and you get the feeling that this young lady, she's probably in her early 20s, is very anxious and very apprehensive about going on this weekend getaway, because she feels some of Josh's friends don't really like her very much, and she's very apprehensive, kind of shy in a way, very unsure of herself, and that's kind of how they have a little talk at the doorway before going in, and she kind of says, this is kind of how I'm feeling. And Josh is a little bit of a jerk here, and he's like, you've known this has been coming up for a while. Why are you just now telling me anything about it? So they go in and kind of chat a little bit, and you kind of get the lay of the characters involved, and you kind of get, the feel of this might be a secluded in the woods type movie, and it is. So the next day, there's a little bit of back and forth between Josh and Iris and some of the friends, Patrick, and they're staying in this older man, Sergei's house. And, it kind of sets him up as if he's made a lot of money by doing, illegal things, illegal activities. He likes to keep his hands dirty, he says at one time. So it's never really 100% sure. The audience is never really 100% sure what he does. Later on, you kind of figure it out, where it's kind of said what was going on. But Iris is left with Sergei out on the beach. And this is kind of about 20 minutes in, about the first act of the film. And after the first act of the film, I'm not going to be talking about it. I'm just going to give you up to the first act of the film because I don't think that I'll give away one of the big plot points. I'll try to tap dance around that if possible, or I might not. I don't know. We'll see where the show goes. So as Sergei and Iris are outside, and it's kind of set up where Josh doesn't want to go outside, the other friends aren't going out, and you think this is going to lead into some kind of attack from Sergei onto Iris. But, and I won't say this part, but there's a very, 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 one of the first pieces of dialogue even said on the film kind of sets you up also where this could be where Iris actually does something to Sergei. Does something, spoiler alert, does something in the realm of killing Sergei. Iris comes back inside, covered in blood, tells everyone what a horrible thing she's done. I had to do it. He was going to kill me. I didn't mean to kill him, but I did. I'm freaking out here. What do I do? And then that's when Josh pretty much turns Iris off. Spoiler, Iris turns out to be an AI relationship robot that Josh purchased because he couldn't handle the dating world, basically. He couldn't handle dating, the dating life, the dating scene. And it's not really said, this was in one of the facts that I didn't write down, but it's believed that this movie takes place in like 2096. Now, it's not really futuristic as far as the look, but the technology of this AI relationship robot named Iris is, something that's in the works now. If you've paid attention to some of the stuff that Elon's doing and some of the artificial intelligence that's going into some of these robots and such. And this robot thinks that she is real. She has programmed all the memories that she has of her and Josh in the meeting that they had, when they first met. And all the likes and dislikes and her intelligence and her eye color and everything about her is to Josh's liking. The robot cannot lie. The robot has to be faithful and tell the truth 100%. And it's soon realized by Iris that Josh and Patrick and the rest of their friends planned to set Sergei up to try to take advantage of Iris. Because they knew Iris would try to harm or hurt Sergei. But they didn't believe that she would be able to kill him. I don't think. I might be wrong on that point. I'm trying to think back about that. So the rest of the movie is kind of like this cat and mouse chase where, Josh learns that Iris has learned how to turn up her intelligence, try to outsmart him, while he is trying to eliminate her, all while getting Sergei's money out of his safe, because it always comes down to money. You know that it does. And that's basically the plot of Companion. Now, there's a lot of suspense. Hey, Aaron. There is a lot of fun things as well. Some great acting, some great chase scenes, some great kills. This is an R-rated movie, and I didn't expect some of the brutality of this to be in this movie. But it is something to be said. Characters, I was thinking about the characters today as well. I rewatched again yesterday. I've seen this, I think, 3 times, And I think everyone in this movie does a fantastic job. You know, like I said, they're not a cast that you would know everything that they've been in. But they are a cast that you would be like, they have done a pretty decent job. They really have. Because you have Sophie Thacker as Iris, you have Jack Quaid as Josh, Lucas Gage as Patrick, which is one of the friends, Megan as Kat, and that's one of the friends, Harvey as Eli, another friend, Rupert as Sergey. You've got a name that I really can't pronounce as Teddy, Matthew as Sid, and Mark as Deputy Hendricks. So there's only just a handful of characters, and everyone does a standout job. Now, I think Sophie Thacker and Jack Quaid are the standouts in the movie. Because at the very beginning of the movie, you get to be on Sophie's side, on Iris's side, because she's this very vulnerable, unsure, anxious, anxiety-ridden girl going to meet friends. That's all you really know. You know the meet cute. You know how they kind of hooked up, which is a fabrication programmed into her mind. Josh later in the movie says, the meet cute that we had was just a drop down. I was able to choose what we did, how we met, just from the drop down menu. And this is all blowing Iris's mind, so to speak. Favorite scene, least favorite scene. I would say honestly, the first 25 minutes are my favorite parts of the movie. Leading up to that, getting to know these characters, getting to know this location, getting to know kind of the meaning behind what they're doing there. Hey, Jeremiah. That's kind of why I think the first 20 minutes are really, really strong, because it sets a really good foundation for what the rest of this movie is going to be. Because for me, it didn't take me, the second and third act of the movie didn't take me where I thought that it was going to go. But if it didn't, because the first act was so convincing in what this kind of movie was going to be. I knew Sophie as Iris was going to murder someone in the movie. That's one of the first lines of the movie. Love you too, Jeremiah. Jeremiah's not been able to be here. He's had a lot of things going on lately. So we just want to keep him in thoughts and prayers tonight. And he misses being on the show, and we miss having him and David both on. But we know sometimes life happens. So, when everything straightens back out, man, just come on back. But, this is kind of said earlier in very first in the movie that Iris is going to kill someone. But you don't know why. And the twist in that what she is, I really had not even thought about that, to be honest with you. Like I said, I went in with knowing really nothing about the movie. Least favorite scene. I don't have a least favorite scene per se. I think honestly the only thing that I would change is I think that I would lower, like I would take out maybe 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, I think. It might be about 5 to 10 minutes too long, but it would just be, a few. I think the last act is a little long. It's kind of like it's wrapped up and then it's not, and then it's wrapped up again in kind of a weird way. So I would trim a little bit here and there, kind of make the run time, because it's really not that long of a movie, I don't think. Let's look here and see. It's not super long. But it is, I think it could be dwindled down. It's 97. I think you could probably make this take off 7 minutes. Probably. And I think it would be just as quick. a little quicker pace, and it's a quick pace as it is now. Score and the music, like I said, this does have a pretty good score. I'd forgotten about her opening theme that we played. It kind of just that's Iris's theme. And it was honestly because of the music as well. It took me in a place I didn't expect. It kind of reminded me of a little bit of a I can't think of that Vincent Gallo. Some of the music that he does. Vincent Gallo, of course, from Buffalo 66 or the Brown Bunny, but he also puts out some music as well, some very lo-fi music. But I do think the soundtrack, it's more of a score per se than soundtrack. It does have, Goo Goo Dolls on there. I'm trying to think if it has any other kind of, pop music on there that I can think of. And none that I can really think of. But it's very moody and lo-fi. And very precise. And it's a nice... I think it's a nice... it goes well with this film. It enhances the film. And that's one reason we even talk about the score and the music on this show. Is because you take any movie almost that doesn't already have a score or a soundtrack not in it. And you take that score and soundtrack out. And the movie is not going to be nearly as effective as it would be. That little bit of music bed makes it so many times. So many times. And it does the same here. And that takes us to originality. Now, this movie, I do find it original. I do find this in the vein of kind of like we've got Megan. I think 2 years back, there's another Megan, I think a sequel coming out this summer, a companion. So you've got a lot of these kind of doll, and I'm not saying this is a particular doll, but you're having a lot of these, like almost like a Chucky resurgence, only in the fact that it's some kind of modern technology equivalent to what those kind of things were. But now we have the AI, relationship robot. We have Megan, I think she's a 4, maybe 5 foot tall, play friend companion. So basically the, My Buddy, except like the adult version of that and AI. And this is wrapped inside, if you think of this, wrapped inside of almost an exoskeleton like in the Terminator. There's a part at the very end of this film where throughout the film Iris goes through some very traumatic things that happens to her. So she's able to take off her synthetic skin where it gets burned off, and her hand is almost like a robotic T-1000, basically, with the exoskeleton from Terminator. The poster, there was a couple different posters. I think it's a very intriguing poster. That's why I even opted to watch this movie to begin with. We were on the cruise, we were on the ship, and I wanted to experience the IMAX on there. I haven't got to experience IMAX any time before or since then, and I was like, well, it's here. Let's see the choices of playing, and Companion was on there. And I thought it was fantastic. The only thing, it was a little chilly in the auditorium. I had on a short sleeve shirt and shorts. But both posters, I posted both the posters on Jason Parker Facebook page and the Other People's Show. And I think they do a good job of intrigue intrigue. And that's what you want with a movie like this. You want people to be intrigued going in. And I think both of these posters do that as well. As well as the opening credits. They're more of like a cute little romantic comedy look to it instead of the movie that you're about to watch. And would I recommend or not recommend this movie? I would say that I do recommend this movie. It's on HBO Max right now. I would say, if you've got 97 minutes, go in, give it a watch. I think you'll enjoy it. It's going to be thrilling. It might catch you off guard. Maybe not as much now that you've listened to the show. But I think it will take you places that you might not have expected this movie to go. Because that's the way it did with me. It's got a great cast of up-and-comers. The camera work is good. The brutality is far greater than expected. It's got a few little chuckles. The soundtrack is good. It's got the Goo Goo Dolls. The score is good as well. It's got that the meat and potatoes that kind of makes it thrilling and mysterious and what's going to happen next. And I don't know exactly where this is going to take me. And it's got a character to root for as well. And that's very important in a movie like this. Sometimes, not necessarily the robotic aspect of the movie, but sometimes these mystery thrillers, horror movies, sometimes lack that centerpiece to root for. Or you're rooting for the killer. Obviously you're rooting for Laurie Strode a lot of the time. But some of the newer ones, they don't have a central person that you would really want to root for and cheer for. And sometimes it's the, quote, bad, it's the villain. And the villain in this is not who you might think it is. So I would suggest please go check out Companion. It is streaming now on HBO Max. Now, I'm not really sure what we're going to be diving into next week. I know we did a couple of Val Kilmer movies back-to-back, Tombstone, and then we did Batman Forever. Last week was Varsity Blues. We've had a lot of people in the chat in the discussion write some movies that they would like to see us review. Now, a lot of those choices are good choices. Don't get me wrong. And we will get to those choices. But some of those choices are not going to be mainstream choices. Not that all the ones that we do, and not that I really aspire to be mainstream, but we're going to also start doing some side shows also. So some of those choices of films might end up on some of the side projects as well. So please stay tuned for that. And please leave, if you have any suggestions, leave below on the Facebook page. But stay tuned for the Other People's Show and go to all the social media pages. That is the Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, The Other People's Show. And stay tuned. In just a moment, we will be back.